He's going.
All right, well, here we go, man. Let's jump right into it. Take it away.
Let's do it. Over on the left-hand side of the map, Antiga Shipyard is the map for tonight, and it looks like we're going to have Mouse ThorZaIN, three-time champion now in this set. Can he take a fourth game or not? He's the red Terran on the left side of the map, and over on the right, we have Noblesse, another Terran player, formerly coDS, and he's representing coL.MvP. So it's time for Terran versus Terran. You knew it was coming, and it's time to see it.
Well, we've already seen ThorZaIN go through two Protoss players and a Zerg player as well. He beats one Protoss player by deflecting cheese, and then does very uncharacteristically ThorZaIN things. ThorZaIN, usually a very safe player, expands, takes his macro advantage. Called the Spoon Terran because he kills players so slowly, it makes you feel like you're being murdered with a spoon. He sets up defensive positions and then
terrible way to die.
It is.
Yeah.
He sets up defensive positions and gets his opponents to run their units into him, into the units that he has prepared, and he takes two games very quickly, I might add, off of uncharacteristic ThorZaIN games, which is very, very fun to see.
But exactly. That's ThorZaIN's playstyle usually is kind of like the Spoon Terran, but the last couple of games we've seen has been high-octane aggression, not something that we are used to seeing from ThorZaIN, and he's made it work out for him so far. So is he going to do it again? Is he going to go back to his macro playstyle? I think Terran versus Terran is one of those matchups where it is kind of hard to go for that kind of an all-in, and you're more likely to go into kind of a macro-style game, unless that Banshee is really the X factor. Will you get a Banshee in there? Will you get a lot of economic damage, force a lot of comm stats out of your opponent? That can be what changes the name of the game. Is it going to be a stable game, or is it going to be a one-base affair?
And both players are actually bypassing gas at the moment, so I think we're going to see some gasless FEs here. Ooh. And that's kind of cool because, you know, TVT lately, some players have been doing this, but a lot of players have fallen back to quick Banshees and stuff like that. Most of the TVTs that we've seen in this tournament so far, with the exception of, say, the macro TVT that Jinro played against Artist on Daybreak, have been pretty short affairs, actually.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't actually seen a long TVT in the Team Arena Challenge yet.
We had one other one, but
most of them have been short. Most of them
that was the point. Exactly, yeah.
Quick, most of them have been quick one-base affairs or two-base affairs with the Banshee. But for now, it looks like, that SCV almost made it out of there, ended up going down. But for now, it looks like both players are going to go with that one racks fast expand. The command center already on the way for Noblesse. ThorZaIN hasn't quite thrown down the CC yet. There it is. So his CC just a tick later, but I think that he has extra SCVs, and that's the reason why.
Yes, he does. As a matter of fact, two extra workers right now. Both players' unit production exactly the same at the moment, though, and neither player has gone after a gas yet, so we don't know if either of these players are going to favor a mech TVT build here, if we're going to see straight into, looks like second barracks coming out of ThorZaIN.
Second barracks, pretty quick second barracks there, so much quicker than Noblesse. And now adding on the gas.
Yeah, this is actually the build that I was talking about when we first saw him play, which was that gasless FE into second racks, and then you put up two gases at close to the same time, and it offers a lot of flexibility.
Very flexible.
And on the other hand, his opponent is actually just going three racks. But yeah.
Yeah, the extra gas adding on earlier than Noblesse is going to allow him to go to so many different tech routes, man. He can go into fast medevacs, go into Blue Flame Hellions if he wanted to, take back to the old Terran versus Terran style. He could even go into quick upgrades. We've seen him throw down double engineering bay and get +1/+1 really quickly as well.
All right, so let's see. Is that economic advantage still there for ThorZaIN? Slightly. Looks like extra worker and an extra mule going to drop down a little bit quicker now for Noblesse, though, as he is starting to produce quite a bit of gas at the moment. Excuse me. His opponent, on the other hand, just has his third racks coming up now, but neither player has thrown down, an upgrade structure or shown if they just want to go straight medevacs, or if we're going to see them move into mech or just siege tanks along with this. It's been pretty hidden so far.
In Terran versus Terran lately too, we've been seeing a lot of the mass marine style. In fact, one game that I recall is. For the moment, we thought it was 4GG, but it was actually Bomber, Startail Bomber versus, who was it?
OGS Top.
OGS Top, exactly. And they went for a very mass marine composition. Until the late game, we didn't see really tanks come into play. So we've been seeing a lot of Terran players focus on going mass marine, early upgrades, stim pack combat shields, +1/+1, and then approaching tanks past like the 10-15 minute mark, and it allows them this added mobility to go around the map, snipe key buildings. As long as you're very good about the micro, which these two players obviously are, then you can make it work. You don't have to get tanks that early.
And it's weird because TVT has gone in cycles. Unlike the other matchups which have slowly progressed, but they've kind of not gone back on themselves. Let me to explain. TVT, you know, back in about May or June of this year was dominated by that Mass Marine style that you're talking about. Then everyone figured out that Blue Flame Hellions are really, really good against Mass Marines. Yeah. And the Korean players moving into something like MLG Anaheim, I remember, were just doing Mass Blue Flame Hellion builds. And we went from that to, oh, well, everyone's making Blue Flame Hellions, but landed Vikings are actually super good against Hellions. And then they give you map control as you move on throughout the game. So now let's move into Vikings. And now people are saying, well, Bio's pretty good against Vikings, so we're going to move back into Mass Marines, and it's just kind of been cyclical.
Yeah, that's the nature of StarCraft 2. I mean, different types of builds. It's like rock, paper, scissors. Rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, paper beats rock, and you're going to have different builds come up that become the flavor of the month, and then they'll fall out of favor as people discover new ways to combat that build, more efficient ways to get your build out quicker. And it allows the best players to kind of rise up and play different types of playstyles. So that's what we're seeing here, a take back to the old way of Terran versus Terran. In fact, we still don't even have a siege tank out yet on the field.
No. They're just purely competing over Marine numbers at the moment. And
how many Marines do they have? Let's look at the units tab here.
ThorZaIN has a small advantage, 27 to 23 at the moment. Noblesse, though, looks like he have more production? Does he have more tech? One worker. Both players have their engineering base coming up. Now he's just a little bit behind on ThorZaIN at the moment.
That's actually kind of an ode to ThorZaIN's super hard macro. I mean, this is why ThorZaIN loves to get to that 2-base macro point, because he knows his macro is on point. And he has more supply than Noblesse right now. He has more Marines, and their tech is identical to the T. Look at their Stimpack timing. Look at their +1 timing. Yeah. Everything is identical. The buildings that they're making right now is pretty much on point as well. The only difference is ThorZaIN has more Marines. That's just showing how raw ThorZaIN's macro is.
Yeah, he is up by about 11 supply now, and that is 6 workers. I'm sorry,
just 6 more
Marines.
Few
workers, 6 Marines, now actually 8 Marines. We have some medevacs starting to hit the field now, and our first siege tank is actually coming up for Noblesse.
And this first siege tank for ThorZaIN coming up right up. They're doing the exact same build to the T. And here comes the big battle. I think ThorZaIN has a much better concave here, though, and more Marines, of course.
He's actually going to finish stim like 5 seconds faster than Noblesse is,
huge.
Which means he could actually stim in and obliterate most of this force.
Is he going to do it? He's about to get stim here, and his stim is ready.
He could, and he
does.
He is.
But the other Stimpack is finishing up too, so both players finishing up Stimpack pretty much on the same time.
Yeah, but
Noblesse is losing some Marines.
All right, ThorZaIN actually just picked off a ton of units there. Now the siege tank is actually firing for Noblesse at the same time. ThorZaIn
too many medevacs for Noblesse. Noblesse has enough medevacs.
4 medevacs to 2 medevacs, and that was enough for Noblesse to actually win that engagement. We'll see what ThorZaIn is actually
ThorZaIn loses these 2 medevacs as he's running away. That would be a terrible loss for ThorZaIn. ThorZaIn is going to lose one of the medevacs, and the second medevac gets out of there. But I think ThorZaIn overcommitted there. That's one of those situations where overcommitting can cost you, and he just didn't have nearly as many medevacs, because with the closer you are to your opponent's side, the faster their reinforcements arrive in time against yours, in comparison to yours. So he didn't have enough medevacs, whereas Noblesse did, and unfortunately for him, that was what costed him that battle.
All right, and we have 3 more racks coming up for ThorZaIN, 2 more coming up for Noblesse, and he has another factory hitting the field as well. He is up by 8 supply, but ThorZaIN does have the economic lead, so should be able to sit back and macro for a little while longer. But we do have, let's see here, is there another CC coming up for Noblesse?
Yeah, I'm paying attention to the command centers right now. There is only one coming up for ThorZaIN. Yeah, ThorZaIN is the one who's going to want to go into a 3rd base here, and this is going to be a focal point. Whoever can get the 3rd base first and gets mining going out of that is going to jump ahead in income and supply, and that's what ThorZaIN is going to try to take advantage of now, trying to get that 3rd down as quickly as possible.
ThorZaIN is still double producing workers at the moment, as a matter of fact. And,
the medevac! Oh, no. What is that medevac doing?
It's going to start dropping down its forces, because otherwise it's going to get picked off. Will it run away in time?
I don't understand what ThorZaIN was doing with that medevac right there. He just ran it in there. He could have got easily picked off by a Stimpack of Marines. And more medevacs coming out. ThorZaIN is losing control over his forces here. Everyone's crying out mutiny against ThorZaIN. You work us too hard. And now ThorZaIN says, okay, guys, come back home. Let me treat you guys for some Christmas dinner first.
All right, Noblesse double producing tanks at the same time. ThorZaIN is. Noblesse actually up by 1 tank overall. Is it in this engagement, though? No, just 3 tanks on the field at the moment. ThorZaIN running around with a drop over at the 12 o'clock position. He will be able to pick up and possibly deny this 3rd base from constructing for quite a while. And ThorZaIN actually just about to finish up his as well. ThorZaIN continuing to produce workers. He is way oversaturated on 2 bases right now. So his army advantage and economic advantage is not as pronounced. Now, of course, once he establishes his 3rd, he'll be able to Maynard over a bunch and get immediate saturation on his next base, but for now, it's not paying him any dividends.
ThorZaIN gets the drop-off, though, underneath the natural, so he's doing some damage right now. Kills off, I don't know, maybe a handful of SCVs, if that, but I think ThorZaIN didn't really do as much damage as he wanted to do right there, at the very least distracting Noblesse by a little bit, but Noblesse is preparing to push into the third here. He's working down the rocks. Look at how many medevacs he's got, Cats.
Yeah, he does.
He's got like 7 medevacs?
8 actually on the field right now, and they're all up at the front. And who knows if that's going to make the difference or not. We'll find out. ThorZaIN actually going over to 2-2 with +1 weapons for his mech as well. Level 2 weapons just now coming up for Noblesse. So ThorZaIN is in the better spot if he secures this PF for a decent period of time. Look, like I said, he's got immediate saturation on this base because of the SCVs he transfers over, and now we're going to see his economy start skyrocketing.
Yeah, it looks like ThorZaIN is now setting up the third. Like we said before, the economy is going to start to skyrocket so far ahead right now. Noblesse is actually moving back as ThorZaIN securing the location. Okay, for a second there I thought I saw something, but that was not the situation. He's got a medevac back there still as well, so he could go in there, do some more damage. All the upgrades getting in time as well, with 2-2 on the way for both players. They're about to finish their 2-2 and their weapons +1 upgrade as well. But at this point, it looks like both players have set up to the point where they're just kind of in this kind of a trench warfare situation, and it's kind of just going to be a back and forth in the middle of the map.
ThorZaIN is out macroing his opponent once again, despite falling behind in supply, and is ahead on his upgrades quite considerably, as a matter of fact, but Noblesse has positioning, and having control of this lone Xel'Naga tower is huge, and it looks like ThorZaIN, he wants to try and make his way up against this force. He decides that now is the time, pulls Marines back into his siege tanks, a positioning war going back and forth at the moment, but ThorZaIN actually getting the worst end of that stick.
Yeah, ThorZaIN right there just taking a bunch of damage. He gets a drop-off inside the main.
Not really. The missile turret killed the medevac. It only got off 2 Marines.
Yeah, that was not too good for ThorZaIN at all. ThorZaIN is falling behind right now, but the one thing he's got going for him is the superior macro. But look at Noblesse. He's set up on the high ground right now. He's got so many tanks. He's got a missile turret there, which just kind of blew up, but he's got all the high ground advantage going for him.
Yes.
Which is huge. This is going to be such a hard position for ThorZaIN to break.
And Noblesse still is up in tanks now, but not by a lot, as those most recent ones just come out. But we have a very classic TVT, and this is a big map, guys, with a lot of bases.
Oh no! He's going to pick off a tank or two right here. The rest of the tank's setting up. Now it's time for Noblesse to pull back, because those tanks are going to do a lot of damage, but he pushes forward, and he's going to get all the tanks. He crushes ThorZaIN's army with the superior medevac count. He kills all the tanks off. ThorZaIN just losing a huge chunk of his army right there, Cats.
Oh, losing the tanks was what was important for ThorZaIN as well, because even though Noblesse is, well, he was back in supply just a second ago, but now actually pulling considerably ahead in supply, he's going to be able to replenish those Marines very, very easily and cheaply. We need to see a little bit better barracks infrastructure for him, but he's going to be able to produce those units very cheaply. ThorZaIN has a lot of catch-up to do to make those tanks back up.
Yeah, ThorZaIN right now in this situation, I just don't know what he can do, man. He is down by 20 supply. He's got to get more tanks out on the field. He's in this situation where he's got the low ground. That's one. Second situation is he just doesn't have the ability to really attack Noblesse. He's tried multiple drops. It's been shut down every single time. And the medevac count is just so superior for Noblesse that he can afford to stim as much as he wants, and ThorZaIN is limited in the amount of drugs that he can use.
Oh, and it looks like Noblesse wants to make a little bit of a push here, and already ThorZaIN has to pull back. Pretty decent micro there to mitigate the damage from the first tank burst, but Noblesse ran in with another round of units behind as well. He's actually continuing to produce medevacs despite the fact that he has 11 on the field. That healing power is going to be nice as his Marine count continues to grow, now by 10 Marines at a time. But this is getting increasingly hairy now for ThorZaIN.
Yeah, ThorZaIN is getting really far behind in this game now. Things are getting hairy, as you said before. Command center getting pushed away by some Marines. The tanks for Noblesse, just so many. Let's look at the unit tab real quick and see how many tanks that Noblesse has really got on the field. He's got 13 tanks. ThorZaIN's got 6 only. 52 Marines over 44. Oh, gosh, and every single tab just favoring Noblesse right now.
Noblesse going after later expansions than ThorZaIN, but because he's denied this fourth for quite a while now, he's going to be able to make up all that lost build time. ThorZaIN is going to have cheaper throwaway units on the ground. Yes, he's going to finish 3-3 quite a bit quicker than his opponents. Oh, Noblesse overextending it with the Bison to pull a lot of Marines around the side, but ThorZaIN, I think, getting the better of that little exchange. He now has air control at the moment.
Oh, man. There's a lot of SCVs off the field right now for ThorZaIN.
Ooh, I like.
He might just be in some kind of a desperate all-in situation now. He can't mine out of all those SCVs, so he's just using them to help repair now.
There is a Banshee coming up now for ThorZaIN, which I really like, because Banshees are very able to go ahead and break siege lines.
Oh, no.
Oh, but he catches ThorZaIN on siege there. There are so many units up for Noblesse. He's going to start swinging his way around down the bottom right-hand side and start camping ThorZaIN's production.
Yeah, the production facilities are under attack right now. Noblesse is doing a ton of damage. Those medevacs, he's got almost one medevac for every 2 Marines or so, and he could just stim liberally at will, and it allows him so much more mobility. He can run in, he can pick off add-ons, he can fall back and let them repair so quickly. A medevac coming in here, it gets shut down by the missile turret. Only 3 Marines coming out, but there's 5 Marines already there for Noblesse, and man, ThorZaIN is just getting shut out at every single corner.
Yeah, this is getting pretty rough for him now. He does still have the worker advantage, even sacking a few before, so he'll be able to replenish his army fairly quickly, but he's got to get some mineral mining down there now, as he's basically out of his natural. Not too much left at his 3rd, and his force about to get killed.
And here comes some Marines for Noblesse, gonna kill off that command center. GG, well played. So there it is. ThorZaIN loses, and after that incredible 3-0 run, finally gets knocked out by Noblesse. So it's now 3-3 tied up, man.
Yes, it is. 3-3. We are going to move into game number 7 here, and that means we are basically down to a best of 3 remaining between these two teams.
是上将。